Hello everyone. Now we are going to look at a difference between Lambda and Anonymous inner class. I'm going to demonstrate three main differences over here. First one, at the time of compilation. So when you implement an Anonymous inner class, JVM will create a separate .class file at the time of compilation. But when you implement a Lambda, it won't create a separate class file for a Lambda. So I'm just creating a runnable interface anonymous inner class. So I'm just inside a run method, I'm going to print some values just to check whether it is running. So I just implemented here a runnable interface. Now I'm going to create a thread to using this runnable interface. So new thread of newly created object, runnable interface object dot stat. So I'm going to run this program now. So if you look at this complete one will generate a .class file, separate .class file. So lambda expression example, that is the class name which I have created anonymous inner class. So $1, that .class file will be created. I'm just opening a bin directory of that particular project. So if you look at $1, so this is a anonymous class, this complete set. So runnable interface, my implementation, that is the .class file will contain this runnable interface complete one. So now I'm going to implement same runnable interface using a lambda, because a runnable interface is a one method interface. So I can implement lambda here. Since my run method won't accept any parameter, just open close so I'm just printing same value for testing. Same way I'm going to start a thread using this runnable interface object. So if you look at in this package, we have three classes, like two interfaces and one class. I'm just running this. It ran successfully. So same bin directory. If I look at, so if you look at, we don't have any separate .class file. So this is a first difference for a compilation. And second one, variable usage and scope. So I'm just commenting this lambda, going back an anonymous block. So I'm going to create one variable outside of my runnable interface, like inside my main method, I would say. I'm just declaring, it's not a final variable, I'm just declaring int count of 10. So if I'm using inside my anonymous inner class, it will turn to be a final variable. It is, which means effectively final. So it will turn to a final variable. So we cannot change it value of this count. So I'm just going to run this program now. The value is printed successfully. But the same variable name, I can create a separate, like same name, variable name, I can create a method level variable here. So run inside my run method, I'm just creating a same method, like same name of my variable count 0. Now if I print, that 0 value will be printed because it will in turn it will use this method level variable. So as I said, if I don't redeclare or redefine the variable, I'm just trying to increase that value of count. So if you look at, I will get an error. So as I said, it will turn to be a final variable, so we can't change it. But a method level variable you can change it. So I'm just going to uncomment this one, and if I increase this value, it won't generate any error. So I can change it because this is a method level. Anonymous inner class, it will have its own scope, so we can redeclare a same, we can redefine a same variable name, we can define it and we can use it, because this complete set will have own scope. So scope of my count variable, now it is inside my run method, so 0 is printed now. So to clarify that, I'm just going to print this class name because I wanted to show you this runnable interface name. Class name will be a different name from the class which we are creating a runnable interface. So lambda expression example is the class name which we have inside. We have created a runnable interface anonymous block. Even though then this class name will be different, as I said, like at the time of compilation it will create a separate dot class file. So lambda expression example $of1. So if you look at, this has its own scope, so you can redeclare or redefine the same variable. But if you are using a context variable, we cannot change it because it will be turned to a final variable. So same thing I'm going to use it here. Even for a lambda, if you are using any variable, it will turn to be a final variable, which means it will be, by default it will be converted to be a final variable. We cannot change or modify this value. So count, I'm just printing, value is printed. But if I want to redeclare, it's the same way like what we have done for anonymous inner class. If we can do it, it will show you it is a duplicate variable, because our lambda expression, it doesn't have own scope. It will be part of a main method. It will be part of the lambda expression example class. So we cannot create a duplicate variable again. We cannot redeclare. So it is not possible. That is one different. But as I said, count will be turned to be a final variable. We cannot change that value. So I am just going to increase that value, count plus plus. If I do same error what we have done, what we have get for anonymous inner class. So if you look at the final variable, we cannot change it. Same error. That is possible, but we cannot redeclare it. Doesn't have a own scope. But anonymous class, it has its own scope. That is the difference while using a variable and variable binding. So I'm just running this program. Values printed. Third, final one, implementation standpoint. So if you look at anonymous inner class, we can create an anonymous block for any class or any interface or any abstract classes. So if you look at, I have a 2 method interface called a testing interface 1. So it has 2 methods, 2 abstract methods. I can implement an anonymous concept here. So I'm just creating a interface object. I'm just creating an anonymous block here. Irrespective of method inside your interface or your abstract class or your class, we can create an anonymous inner class. So I'm just implementing a both the method. I'm just printing some sysouts, print method called and display method called. I'm just going to print that. So here I'm just changing a method name, display method called. So using my interface object, I'm going to call this both method, do print and do display. So it is implemented. Anonymous in a class we can implement. But whereas a lambda, only a one method interface can be implemented via lambda expression. So if it is a two method interface or your class or your abstract class, nothing can be implemented using a lambda. Only a one method interface, single abstract method interfaces can be implemented via lambda. Here I am trying to implement a two method interface via lambda. So obviously I will get an error. So I'm just printing. Since this testing interface 1 has a two methods inside it, I will get an error because I can't implement a lambda. So if you look at, I'm getting an error. Hope you guys are understood. Thank you. Happy learning.